27 days after patient zero, Washington fell.
Hello and welcome to GamesRadar. We are at E3 2018. My name is James and I'm joined by Zoe here.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about The Division 2, Zoe. Now, we've just been hands-on with it and it takes place 7 months after Black Friday. The footage we have here is actually from the end game, which is something that they were very keen to stress, something that they're keen for everyone to get to this time around. So, Zoe, how does that whole system work?
So the idea is that you play enough to get to level 30, and then after that the entire endgame stuff opens up. So a big part of that is your specializations. So that means that you'll be able to choose between either being a survivalist, a demolitionist, or a sharpshooter. A survivalist gives you a crossbow with exploding bolts, which is really useful when you're trying to take down a big bad that just has a hell of a lot of armor, which is something JJ and I tried to do and eventually succeeded at. Then you have the demolitionist, this person here, who has a grenade launcher, also full of damage. And lastly, the sharpshooter, which gives you a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
Yes.
Yes.
So the footage you're seeing here is from the demolitionist. Me and Zoe were actually playing together in a squad of 4, which is how the game mostly works. You can play it all through on your own, the entire story if you want to, but Ubisoft were very keen to stress that it works better if you play as a team.
And
basically.
when you actually cooperate and talk to each other about what's going on. If you're just going in and not talking to anyone, you are going to die really quickly, especially when you're level 30.
It's set in Washington on a almost 1-to-1 scale, they were saying.
Yeah, and the map's 20% bigger than the first game.
So if you know your way around Washington, they said that you'll probably know your way around the streets in this game, which is a huge area to cover. So once we get to level 30, you've chosen your specialist character, you've chosen which weapon you want to focus in on, then you get to do these events like the one that you're seeing here. And these are called counterpoints, and they work, I guess, a bit like the open world free roam in something like Destiny. They're reoccurring events that are procedurally generated in terms of the bad guys and things, but you get a special reward for finishing them, right?
Yeah, at the end of it, so once you've killed all the bad guys, the civilians will come up and they'll turn the area into their own special settlement. At the head of the civilian hierarchy is the officer, and he'll give you special quests to go get him specific resources, but just because the civilians are there after you save them from everything and all the baddies are gone doesn't mean they're going to stay there forever, because the bad guys can come back and reclaim the space, meaning you have to go back in and seize it once more. At the moment, we're not sure whether that means once the civilians get back there, then the officer will have the same amount of resources you gave him in the first place, or whether you'll go right back to the beginning and you have to collect more stuff for him.
And this, yet again, is all made in Ubisoft's Snowdrop engine, which actually adds a lot of little details to the world. You can see here that the grass actually mats now when you and your team walk over it, which is pretty special. And there was a ball in one of the little pool, like paddling pool areas that I shot up. And not only did the ball move around the water, but you can actually see all the individual bullets hitting the water as well. So there's a lot of little details in there. In the CGI trailer, we also saw a horse, but all of the animals in the world are probably there for like aesthetic reasons rather than things you can actually ride or take control of, right?
Yeah, we spoke to the associate creative director about it, and he said that you can't interact with them, so don't expect to be petting any deers or anything, but they'll mainly be there just to add to your immersion in the game.
Speaking of that, we've got a little clip of you speaking to him where he told you some very interesting information about the dogs in the game.
Yes, very important stuff. Are there dogs in The Division 2? And do they poop in the middle of the street like they did in the first game?
Of course there are dogs.
Amazing. Do they excrete various matters in the middle of the street?
Well, I think it's something that players really enjoyed in the first game.
It was, definitely. Okay, yeah.
So he didn't actually confirm that they're still going to poop, but
I did try to get him to say it, but he didn't say it in so many words. But if there are dogs in it, then considering how the pooping dogs were received in The Division, the first game, then it's pretty safe to say there's going to be pooping dogs in the second one.
we should talk a little bit about what it's actually like to play.
Maybe, yeah.
So as a team of 4, it seems to be very much focused now on actual communication and collaboration between you and your squad mates. So if you go running off on your own, you're going to get downed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And as everyone has different abilities and techniques and special weapons to use, You have to really coordinate with your team to use all of those collectively, otherwise it's going to become really hard.
So, for example, the sharpshooter has a chem smoke attack where they can fire pellets that will expunge this like chemical smoke, and if you shoot in them, it will set on fire. But you want to coordinate with your teammates so that if you let that go and then get someone to throw their grenade into the mix, and it creates this massive freaking explosion. The first time we did it, we went in and we weren't really talking to each other, and we died really quickly. You can mainly handle the small guys like the usual mobs, but as soon as the big bad comes along with his goddamn grenade, you're going to die if you don't coordinate when it comes to taking him down.
Yeah, and it's worth restating that we were all like level 30 characters. So this is like end game stuff. This is what happens at the end. And even that, all of these enemies, like once you get to the purple health enemies, they're pretty tough to take down on your own.
Yeah, plus on the enemy side, there are also medics now, so if you don't take them out quickly, they'll run around and revive people. And there are also these really annoying ones that have that like expanding goo stuff. If they fire that at you, you're going to get stuck and you need someone to come save you sharpish. So there's a lot of enemy behavior that's based around disrupting you and making things as difficult as possible.
And we should talk a little bit about the post-launch content that they talked about a bit. There's going to be 3 DLC drops in the first year, all of which are going to be free, and they're going to expand on the story and the environments and the activities that you can do in the world. Speaking of environments, there was loads of different ones this time, right? So in the first division, it was a lot of, city, grey buildings, really high-rise blocks, but this one seems to have very distinct regions in Washington. Like there's the grasslands area, there's a bit that's flooded, there's the bit that we were playing in, there's like downtown where all the city is, and all the enemies in those different environments will react differently and cause you to play the game differently, like change your approach as you go through it. So there's quite a lot to be going on with.
Mm-hmm, yeah. There's also a new raid, so there's an 8-player raid that they're going to bring out. We did push them for details about what exactly it would entail, but they wouldn't tell us anything. So at the moment, we're not sure whether that means you can matchmake with 7 other players, or whether you yourself have got to get a team of 8 people together to play, which is going to be a pain in the behind.
Either way, I think you'll agree that it looks great.
Yes.
Like it's visually amazing.
Stunning.
We were playing it on PC with an Xbox pad, but even so, like it's an incredible looking game.
It's a very beautiful game.